Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Chiron Sextile or Trine, one's natal Uranus. Now, this transit could manifest in physical and emotional wounds, helping and healing others, depleted self-esteem, and being in harmony with friendships, groups, clubs, goals, and aspirations. And I'm going to elaborate and expound on that. This is not about your friendships, being in agreement or harmony with depleted self-worth or, physical or emotional suffering you're going through, but they can be beneficial in those matters, whether it's your friends, it could be people that are prominent in groups, clubs, or organizations. It could also be more, taking care, of your physical and emotional wounds. Could be more, of a goal or aspiration, or at least will free you up to pursue your goals and aspirations at this time. Uranus is also about freedom and independence, so it's more of a time where if there's any kind of emotional or physical suffering, it's less likely to inhibit you from having your freedom or independence, whether it's trying to extricate yourself from a negative relationship, or it's a contentious home situation, or something on the domestic front that's acrimonious or contentious. It's a time where it's more of an opportunity to free yourself from those issues at this time. Now, the transit of Chiron, of course, that doesn't supplant or replace your natal Chiron. Your natal Chiron is there during the time, there in your life during the entirety of your life, during the duration of the time you're around. And this is the transit Chiron, though, is beneficial. As far as this aspect goes, the sextile or trine aspect, it's beneficial during the time of the transit, though. And the thing too is, some of you, might wonder, what's the difference, between the transit, the sextile or trine transit in contrast to the conjunction transit. Now, the sextile and trine aspect transit, it's auspicious, it's flowing, it's positive, it forms a good relationship between the transit of Chiron and the natal Uranus, and it's about it's a lot of it's harmony, it's harmonizing. But when you have the conjunction. Now, the conjunction aspect is neutral. It can have good and bad qualities. It's intensifying, amalgamating, and integrating to strong concentration of the astrological energies. And when you have, say, the transit of the Chiron making a conjunction to the natal Uranus, it could even, in some cases, may manifest in, physical, could be an unusual physical related issue that you're dealing with, or something. It could be something Uranus related, such as something, the ankles, the shins, the calves, the nerves, or circulation, as an example. And the thing is, when it could also be receiving some kind of, maybe it's about intensifying healing and helping friends and in your friendships. But the thing is, when you have a conjunction, something like that could be to the point where it's so intensified, or it could be to the exclusion of everything else, because it's such a strong concentration of energy where you could become oblivious to things. When you have the sextile and trine, it could be comparable, but the thing is, it's not to the point where you would be excluding everything, other things in your life that are significant at that time. But anyway, the thing about this transit is that it's also a positive time, I would say, as far as your freedom and independence. It could be freeing yourself from some kind of physical or emotional suffering at the transit Chiron is Scorpio. In Scorpio, it could be something over an inheritance, or strong psychological matter, or a power struggle, or even a death you may have experienced in your life. Now, another thing, anatomically speaking, Uranus is connected with the ankles, the shins, the calves, the nerves, and circulation. So this is a time where it could be a good opportunity, as far as healing goes, for this. It might be a time where you go to be able to see a healer or a primary physician as an example and have a better chance of getting it taken care of and get some alleviation from those issues if you are currently experiencing anything I stated that's associated anatomically with Uranus. Now, if you procrastinated or hesitated on any of these matters, this is a time where you have more of an opportunity to do something about it, more so than usual. Now, it's also a time as well, when you have this transit, any kind of issue, Uranus is connected with what's erratic and sporadic. So it's a time where you could deal with those issues better, I would say, without having something physical or emotional going on, a problem in your life, really inhibiting you from doing so. If you have your natal Uranus in the 6th house as an example, it could be some erratic or sporadic, just general schedule or work or employment situation at this time. And it's more of a time where you could pursue your future at this time and not allow some kind of physical or emotional suffering or some ineptitude or perceived ineptitude that you believe you have in your life. I mean, Chiron is about, it's not just necessarily, I would say, an actual weakness or ineptitude. It could be perceived on one's part, where one just might feel some insecurity in their life. Now, at the time that I'm making this video, transit Chiron is in Aries, and many people collectively at this time, maybe going through some issues with identity, what their place is in society and the world, and also there could be some issues with feelings of unworthiness. Maybe there's some issues with courage or fortitude or bravery or taking action, being assertive, speaking up at this time. And it's a time where you have more, I would say the fact that if somebody's having this transit now at the time of this video, and it's making that, the transit Chiron is making a sextile or trine to the natal Uranus, it's a good time to free yourself from those issues and be able to go after your goals, your aspirations, your future at this time. And it's also a time, to deal, if you're dealing with any disruptions in your life. If you have your natal Uranus in the 5th house as an example, that could be disruptions in terms of your love life or your activities with children. Now, this is a time where, if you're a spiritual person, this could be a positive aspect for dealing with that. It could be being able to maybe heal those issues at this time. Or if you're going through any physical or emotional suffering, it's less likely to inhibit you from dealing with disruptions that could be going on in your life at this time. And it's also a time as well where if any suffering you may be dealing with, it could also be about using new or advanced technology, innovative technology to deal with it. I mean, if you have, let's say you have, like me, you have extensive nerve damage, it could be where there's some new nerve conduction tests that could be used, or if it's out there, if it's something that might work for you in trying to deal with the problem at this time, or try to find a solution to it. And it's also a time as well, considering Uranus is about what's unusual or unorthodox. This could be a time where you may be helping out, be able to help and heal others in doing so. Using, it could be some unusual method or method that you haven't maybe used previously at this time. It can be very auspicious for that. Now, another way this transit could manifest, it could be very positive for helping and healing, which is Chiron. It could be others through, it could simply be through the computer, the internet, which is Uranus. Let's say if you have your natal Uranus in Libra, it could be matters pertaining to relationships, legal matters, finding peace. It could be about having refinement in one's life, balance in one's life, as some examples. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now another way this transit can be expressed, if there's issues with depleted self-esteem, which is Chiron, they can be dealt with by pursuing goals and aspirations, which is Uranus. Now, let's say if the natal Uranus is in Leo, it could be maybe by doing something with entertainment or circus performing, doing something with the military, maybe product demonstration or party planning, production at this time, something with acting. And also too, this could be a time where it's propitious to deal with suffering, which is Chiron, in being assisted, by friends, by people that are prominent in groups, clubs, or organizations, which is Uranus. Now let's say if the transit Chiron is in Virgo in the 12th house as an example, it could be a worrisome, which is Virgo, something that's affecting your sleep and relaxation, which is the 12th house. And also to physical and emotional trauma, which is Chiron, may be helped by just simply focusing on the future, which is Uranus. Now, let's say if the natal Uranus is in Scorpio, that future can be connected with psychology or billing and coding, working in insurance or as a tax examiner or an investigation or forensics as some examples. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.